I don't think we could function as a healthy society if like the basis of every relationship, every human interaction was power.
I don't think it
Do you
is
know what I'm saying?
power. It's not the basis. It's a strong element. I would go back to a more basic, fundamental human, and which is common to a lot of
Like,
other
or
living
one
things.
person exerting power over another, or one group exerting power over another. So that comes the idea of oppressor, oppressed. Kind of comes from a Marxist ideological point of view. Yeah.
Buzzword. Pow, 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 pow.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's
Well,
true.
let me pull again the lens back. I think fundamentally, as humans, we get attracted and we are driven towards the basic stimulation. We go away from pain and close to pleasure. And because of the complexity of our human brains, we can draw pleasure or pain from different things.
Right.
When we say that power corrupts or it's addictive or people get addicted to money,
Hmm.
there's like a subversion of the reward mechanisms in your brain that make whatever you're chasing, even if it's an illusion or if it's a short term, it's a pleasure. People are searching for pleasure. Like, why
Hmm.
would a dictator enjoy uh, oppressing, or like, let's take the case of Saddam Hussein. Why would he gas his own people? Or why would he, insert any dictator? They're living in their palace, and the people are starving. If they suffered with those decisions, they probably wouldn't do them.
I
You
mean,
know what I'm
there's an
saying?
element of psychopathy that kind of goes along with
Whatever
those
it
figures that
is.
you're using as examples. Like Saddam Hussein,
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
you
No,
can
but
use Hitler as an example. Like, there's a
exactly.
level of psychopathy
But I think
and lack
it's
of empathy and compassion that goes along those.
yes,
When you analyze their personality.
absolutely. I'm talking about a very primal level. The thing people are driven, their decision making is driven to these pleasure reward mechanisms. If it was the if Hitler let's go talk about the Holocaust.
I
If
mean,
Hitler drew pleasure from enacting his world vision because he had this vision for the world, that's what drove him. He wouldn't do something, right? He wouldn't, if he didn't believe in it, if there was no reward system at work in his own mind, in his own brain, in his own chemistry, that said don't do these things. Like, there's clearly like
well, you don't.
motivators,
I mean,
and very few
there are
people.
motivators, but
Yeah,
I don't.
even if somebody does something against their own personal well-being, or like, imagine if my wife is dying, or she is like in a situation, and I throw myself and I sacrifice my body for hers so she can live. There's like a reward situation that it was stronger for me to sacrifice my integrity in the sake of somebody else.
Right.
But what drove it, and the fundamental level, is this pursuit of pleasure in a way, right? Bear with me in
I mean,
this
we're never
argument.
gonna know exactly the utterances or the
But
motivational
yeah,
forces that.
I'm saying that in
But
the complex human psyche,
I
like
would.
the 2 plus 2 in this equation is means like, I rather have somebody else live than I live,
Mhm.
right? And that's what motivates me, and that can be, I think, distilled down to this basic urge.
Yeah, but I would strongly argue that um um that um catastrophes like that only happen when the relationships between human beings degenerate into power only.
No, no, the
Then you
sacrifice of
then you
the
get authoritarian, genocidal, and very malevolent systems or governments or forces that will simply trample everything in order to achieve a certain ideal. And that's when I think society degenerates into tyranny,
sure.
and the relationships become only based in power. That I don't. We have plenty of examples on the other side of the world, but
Even
I
on this
was
side
more
of the
trying
world.
to. Yeah, I mean, there's a level of it here, but I don't think that's primarily what drives us, the force that drives us here.
But sorry, are we talking
That's
about
why we
again?
have a different way to um a different way to we manifest here in a different way as a society. We have different values, and I think that's important too. Did I get you lost?
Yeah, because I'm either I will respectfully say that we're talking about different things, or you're skewing the question because you're
Did you ask me a
phrasing
question?
you're phrasing it through this prism of which is very specific. I'm talking more broadly, um, more fundamentally, regardless of context. I'm not saying like, oh well, power creates corruption and it creates degradation of society, and then it leads to this. No, I'm talking about fundamentally what makes people do the decisions that they do, you know,
Right,
and how those decisions can then create a situation where you're gonna search for something that is not good for society,
right.
and you're gonna pursue these goals, and you're going in that quest. You might create terrible things for the world, even if for a short bit of time. You know, why do people go to
Yeah,
war?
but
You know, why did you know what I'm saying?
I know you're trying to
More
understand their
fundamentally,
utterances, their
yeah,
motivation,
because that's what
their
the question, right?
motivations,
Maybe
but
I didn't understand the
I don't think
question.
we want to go down a path where we start justifying terrible actions.
No, but you
Like
can understand it.
you can understand
You're
it for
not giving
sure.
it an excuse like, oh, you know, like, it's been floated the idea that Hitler, and again to the Second World War, never made it to art school. Maybe the Holocaust would have never happened if he actually got in, and he would have, got whatever
Changes perception.
change of whatever. Like, it's a what if game. We don't
Uh,
know. So that's the thing. I'm not saying that what he did was okay. I'm just saying like, oh, this is you can definitely understand it through this scope. Um, and maybe I'm just being narrow. My vision is a little bit narrow, but I'm just thinking more about what gets people out of bed. Like, I feel like the complexity of society and of each individual is so great that they will find um, whatever they have to do to fulfill this. And sometimes it's not good. It's just like an addict. Why would a gambler gamble? Why would an alcoholic drink? Why would like a drug addict do themselves like that moment where I'm assuming, because I've never
well,
done this,
that's
a heroin addict shoot some heroin. There's like this one moment that we're chasing that is pleasurable. So they were chasing kind of pleasure to react to whatever reality they had to live through, and created whatever, the combination of memories and experiences that define him as a person in that situation. It was a search for pleasure. And what I'm saying is, in a way, a search for power can be distilled to a search for pleasure as well. And so it's very easy to see like how our structure in our society is organized through tiers of power.
and that's
That's just an observation. I'm not saying that's
right,
good or bad. It's like literally like you can.
and that's why I think it's important to have well-established values.